One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to learn React is simply by watching YouTube tutorials and trying to reproduce what they see line by line. Let me tell you something, YouTube won't make you a React developer. So in this video, I'm going to show you the best way to get started with React for beginners so you can get up and running quickly and efficiently. Let's go. Hey, what's up? This is Greg with AlterClass, helping you learn the right skills to land your dream job as a software engineer. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. React is so popular you can find endless content across the internet, which makes learning React on your own quite challenging. You don't know where to start or what to learn. You finally end up watching a YouTube tutorial or a code-along course of someone coding an entire application using React, Redux, Firebase, GraphQL, and more. Stop doing that. You are wasting your time. You won't remember anything from that. Plus, you're not going to learn the fundamental principles that you should know to build your own React applications from scratch. If you want to become a React developer, there is one thing you should know. When you don't have the proper foundation, you will be a lot less efficient when building React applications. You can follow a coding tutorial and feel like you're learning something, but you will struggle and don't know what to do when you will start working on your own project. Or worse, you will apply the wrong technique or use the wrong tool. And now you are struggling because your code base is more complicated than it should be. This is why the first thing you need to do and the best way to learn React for beginners is to master the fundamentals. Of course, you should have some experience with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, but here I'm talking about the core principles behind React. You need to understand the three main principles that make React unique even before writing your first line of code. By learning the fundamentals, you will develop the proper techniques and way of thinking to build your first React application and progress a lot faster toward building large scales and production-ready applications. And this is why mastering the fundamental is not only the best way to learn React for beginners, but also to ensure that you will continue to progress through your learning journey. Now I'm going to give you the three core principles that you need to master the fundamentals. Okay, so the first principle you need to understand is declarative programming. Actually, this is not something specific to React, but a programming paradigm in computer science. When you have to accomplish a task, you have two ways to do it, the imperative way or the declarative way. Let's see the difference between the two with a simple example. So let's say you have to go from home to work. Using the imperative way, you will take your car and give it step-by-step instruction on how to get to work. Indeed, you have to steer the wheel, brake, or throttle to take the right direction to the final destination. In other words, you are telling your car how to drive with instruction like go straight or take a right at the first traffic light. This is the imperative way. Now, let's say you don't have a car anymore and you order a taxi to get to work. This time, instead of giving step-by-step instruction, you are giving the driver the address of your final destination. By doing so, you are telling what needs to be done, which is going from home to work. That's it. You don't care about how the driver does it. It is up to him to drive you safely to the final destination. In other words, the driver is handling the imperative work for you. So to recap, declarative programming consists of instructing a program on what needs to be done instead of telling it how to do it. This is the same thing with React. You declare what the user interface should look like by using markups for each state of your application, and React does the imperative work for you by keeping the DOM in sync with your application. You don't actually manipulate the DOM yourself. Now, the second principle is composition. In React, you create complex user interfaces by combining smaller components together. React follows a strong component-based model. In React, all you have to do is create components and compose them together to build your application. These powerful composition models give you an easy way to reuse component codes throughout your application. So let's take a look at a simple example to understand how composition works in React. For example, here is my GitHub homepage. Suppose you have to build this page with React. In that case, you have to break down the UI into a component hierarchy by identifying all the different components and thinking about how to arrange them together. So the first thing you will want to do is to draw boxes around each component and give them a name. Here is how I see it. Of course, this is not the only solution here. You might not need an individual component for all these things, or you may need more components. Thinking about the structure of your application beforehand is very important. If you want to save some time later and make your React application maintainable in the long run, you have to think about the component hierarchy first. I encourage you to do this exercise with another website, like Netflix for example, and try to figure out what components you will need and how you will compose them together. Let me know in the comment section below which website you choose and what solution you came up with. Finally, the last thing you should know about React when you are just starting out is how the data flows in a React application. In React, the data flows down from the parent component to the child component. This technique is called unidirectional data flow or top-down data flow because the data always flow in the same way from top to bottom. The main benefit of this approach is that the data flows throughout your application in a single direction, down the component hierarchy. It makes your UI more predictable and help with debugging your application in case something goes wrong. Great, so let's recap what we have learned in this video. React is used to build complex user interfaces and rely on a few principles that make it unique. You should understand those principles if you are just starting to learn React. First, React leverages declarative programming. Second, React uses a powerful composition model based on components. And finally, data has one and only one way to flow throughout your application. So now you are ready to get started. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting that like button and consider subscribing. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you in a future video.
Price for y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all.